Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. For those that traveled out, thank you for coming. We are Zooming this for those that aren't here, but they don't get an egg muffin. So. First of all, I just want to recognize that our president and owner, Gabe, is here. So give Gabe a hand for traveling out from Arkansas. I hope that just shows you guys how much how important these trainings are. They matter a lot, and so Gabe wants to make that sacrifice to be here because this is a big one. Just a few dates coming up. We've got our first full company-wide sales training for all of our reps right after the new year. So that will be available on Zoom for people that aren't able to be here, but we'll be here in person for that. And then we head out to Puerto Rico on the 7th, well, the 6th. Most of our flights are on the 6th, but we'll be there the 7th through the 12th for the top 10 trip. So congrats to those that earned that, and for those that will earn that next year, which I'm sure are mostly in this room. And then we have another sales training after that on the 18th. So we kick it off strong in January. We're going to start training, and part of what we're doing today is we're going to talk about how to train reps for those that are first-time leaders and just want to, always good to brush up on that, but you're the ones that will be training a lot of these new reps. So
I was just going to say, so that January 4th one, obviously a lot of you guys won't even be back in school, but because of that Puerto Rico trip, we didn't want to wait till after that. So it's going to be here, and if it's over Zoom, then that's okay. Like, as many people we can get here, that's great. We realize that a lot of people will be zooming in for that one, but we just wanted to get the ball rolling on training. So
yeah, we're really focusing on raising the expectations this year on training, and we're going to talk about that in a few slides about setting a little bit more higher of an expectation on making sure that these trainings are required. And in order to get some of the things that we offer our reps, the trainings have to be attended or watched on the recording. So let's set those expectations when we are signing and recruiting, that these trainings will really make or break the summer for a lot of these newbies. So, and then we have our recruiting incentive night. So this year-end recruiting incentive that we're doing right now, where you can earn some extra rewards for recruiting through the end of the year, that will happen where we're going to pay that off and reward those that earn it. That's going to be in Salt Lake on the 19th. And then the 20th is our next leadership training here. So it's kind of going to be 3 days in a row there of stuff. So just kind of keep your eye on that week for an important week. And then we are putting together 2 recruiting activities at the end of January, early February, that time frame. One will be in Idaho. It's the Rexburg group will be out at Jake Borg's hangar in Driggs, which is going to be really cool. He's got this just huge facility out there. We're going to basically throw a big party there and invite all of our Idaho peeps. So then we're going to do an activity. We're working on an activity at the grid, the racing track and PG, for our local recruiting activity here. Normally that would have been a pickleball activity like we've done the last few years. We wanted to try something new. So we're going to try and get over to the grid. So more details coming on those recruiting things, but update on how things are going. So this is the incentive we're currently running that you probably are most already aware of, but between basically Thanksgiving, November 21st when we kick this off, and the end of the year, anybody that signs 2 recruits, they get dinner at Ruth's Chris and that one night stay at the Little America in Salt Lake. That's on the 19th. And if you sign 3 recruits, you get a $250 shopping spree at City Creek that same night. And again, that happens January 19th, runs through the end of December. And we already have Steven Savage, who's earned it, who's earned all of it. Congrats, Steven. Amber Cheriton is also, that's Gabe's daughter, and she is a senior in high school, and she's also already earned the incentive. So she's killing it out in Arkansas, and she's bolstering up our team out there. It's gonna be really cool. So wanted to show you guys that people are already off to the races. Over here on the right, we've got these people that have already signed 1 rep Aubrey, Dallin, Emily, Hayden, Kyle, Tanner, and Tanner. And I know that Isaac landed one yesterday. So we don't have that up here because it hasn't officially inked yet, but that one's happening. So anyway, lots of good stuff. And I know you guys have a lot in the pipeline, so keep it up. So reps signed for 2024, we are at 90. So it's a good looking list. This is probably the furthest we've ever been by December, by early December. So we're really excited about the progress. And the other thing that's really cool is of the people that our top 10 rookies and top 10 veterans, we have almost everybody back. So that is also unprecedented. We have a really strong leadership group this year, and you guys are doing great things already. So great work. Now we're gonna pass it over to Parker.
Yeah.
To talk a little bit about what we're gonna be doing to increase our level of training this year.
Okay. I'm just taking this one slide and then passing it to Gabe. So yeah, the goal of today is to talk about training, right? Training our reps and us leveling up as sales reps as well. We want to have an amazing year with per rep averages this year, and a lot of that starts in the off season with sales training. So a couple just like changes as we've been pondering strategy on how we can improve our per rep averages, and these are just a couple things that I just wanted to mention before I pass it over to Gabe today. So the first one is just that we've been pretty generous with this travel bonus that we've been paying out the last couple of years, and we really haven't been super serious about tying it to a rep having finished training. And this year we just want to get really serious about we won't pay the travel bonus unless we feel like they've done their part and trained up, right? Their chances of doing better go up big time if they'll train. So this is what we're gonna ask. There's 3 things that we're gonna ask for in order for them to get their travel bonus. So we'll be setting this expectation with reps as I'm signing them. If you have signed reps, I want this expectation set with them as we're like rolling into January. So these are the 3 things that we're gonna ask: that they complete their new rep onboarding. So every time we sign a rep now, it's actually really cool. Theron has put some work into like a swag box that they get at their address. It's black, it's slick, it looks really cool. It has a hat and a shirt in it. And on that, there's a QR code, and they can scan that, and it'll load them into this place where they basically do this onboarding. We're also going to be sending an email to them. So we're going to kind of shoot both shots. We'll send an email, or we will.
This is the onboarding. So
walk them through with that.
So this is it's just a Google form that is tied to that QR code in that box, that black point box that everyone gets. Those are being shipped out to reps as they sign, so they should be getting those within a week or so of signing their paperwork. So just be following up with making sure your guys are getting these. You all should have received it, so you know what they're going to be getting. If you haven't received it, talk to me. But basically, it just gives them a few things that they need to go through and make sure that they're ready to roll. Some of our software set up, getting subscribed to the YouTube training channel, Slack, Gusto. Send in your photo so we have a good marketing photo for you and for your badge. That's the training library. And then we talk a little about, you can be recruiting now. If you know anybody, get them set up with a meeting. And then also, if you want to refer a friend to work as a CSR or a tech. So just a few things that we want them to be starting to think about. And then they're going to be getting that shirt and hat right away. They've got some point swag earlier than ever. Normally they don't get that until usually they hit their area or come in person to a training. So hopefully that will help with our retention. It's getting people like engaged and bought in earlier once they sign and they feel like they're part of the family. So just make sure you're continuing to help people get that done. And then our YouTube training channel is right here. We're updating it with some of the new stuff we took last summer. So you'll have some fresh stuff to work with. And
some of this content is way good. We looked through it the last couple of days for multiple hours, and there's a bunch of on the doors awesome content that we added Darren did a trip last year to some frontline locations and filmed some awesome sales and stuff. So I think there's like 5 or 6 full sales. Tanner has 2, Matt has 1, David got 1, Gabe Marquez, Cam. So there's like 5 or 6 full sales, and then there's just a bunch of like awesome initial approaches, objections. So this was the other thing that I wanted to talk about, and we'll get into this a little bit today, but obviously our bread and butter is in person, give feedback, and that's what we're going to be talking about a ton today. But supplementary stuff, these YouTube videos will be really powerful, and we're in a better place than we've ever been as far as like being able to actually use videos. So number 2, so that's number 1. They need to get that, go through that, finish that, and I really appreciate Darren and all the work he's put into that. It's a really slick onboarding process, and I think if they check through those 8 or 9 things, then they'll be totally ready. Like they could, you know, move to their location and get paid and everything, right? So number 2 is attend and watch all 2024 trainings. So we have like 8 or 9 training modules that we work people through, and they need to have come to or watched every single one. And we realize that this can get somewhat difficult as a leader to make sure that they've that they've watched these. And so that leads me into number 3, which is they need to be competent, and they need to pass off with their senior leader that they're competent. So that just means that they need to be able to, to start at the beginning with the customer and walk them all the way through paperwork, essentially. And, it can be kind of a dummy customer. Like they don't need to be super, super dialed, right? But they need to be competent and day one be able to sell a customer. And we will not pay a travel bonus this year unless that's happened. And I believe that will be huge for our per rep averages as a company. It will make you guys and us a lot more money, and the rep, right? Like it just will be a way better win-win situation. So any questions on that so far? You guys comfortable with us just holding the line on that and making sure that reps are trained? Cool. So the second thing that we want to just do this year that is going to be a little bit of an adjustment is we're going to do some veteran trainings. So veteran specific trainings. It's difficult for us to do a ton of these because our priority is training new reps, and that's going to take some of your guys' bandwidth as well. But if you noticed on the calendar that Darren showed, the next leadership training that we do, it's actually going to be like a hybrid leadership training and veteran sales training. So first hour is going to be leadership focused, second hour is going to be like selling focused. In the past, I think one hole we've had or maybe one blind spot is every year we're teaching the basics, right? Which is important, but we want our veterans to feel like they can level up and they have the tools to level up. And we want to help our veterans crush and just do better. And so we're going to do 3 of those this year. We're going to do 3 sales veteran trainings that you can come to, get questions answered and practice and hear from reps that have done this at a really high level. And we're going to empower some of our top reps to like be involved in those. And so that's the game plan on veteran sales trainings. Any questions on that? You guys like that? The idea that we'll kind of make that shift and give support to veterans? Cool. Last thing is just our strategy for Rexburg and Cedar. So we're stronger than we've ever been for sure in both Rexburg and Cedar City this year. And so what we're going to do as far as calendar is on those off weeks. So we're going to do a Utah County training every 2 weeks. On the off week, at the same time, Rexburg and Cedar will do a training. I guess it doesn't need to be at the same time, but Wednesday or Thursday of that week. And in Rexburg, obviously, Cam, you're going to play a huge role in that, and I'm going to support you in that. But you and your leaders in Rexburg are going to run point on that. And in Cedar, I think Luke will play a really big role. And then some of our senior leaders like Carter and Parker Ilson are going to go down there. They have a bunch of reps down there. So we have kind of some strategy in place to support that. So that's as far as like expectation on schedule. Every 2 weeks, there will be one here. We will Zoom it. If you're in Rexburg or Cedar, you're totally welcome to double dip and watch the ones here. The one that'll be local will be kind of repetitive, but we might just do kind of more breakout practice stuff.
so that, you know, it doesn't feel super repetitive. I think that's kind of our game plan. Any questions on that? Okay, awesome. I'm going to turn it over to Gabe. Yep.
And Aaron. Don't applause. I didn't even say anything yet. Go on.
They were clapping for us.
Give yourselves a hand. We appreciate you guys being here on a Saturday morning. That's what it's clapping for. Okay, so this is an important, one of our most important trainings that we're going to do. If you're going to be here for a Saturday morning, we want to make this really valuable. Again, the emphasis today is going to be training the trainers, and I just wanted to maybe, let's see, can I, no. Some of this, I mean, like that, the library that we just showed you, if you are a returning rep and you haven't taken the time to dive into those videos and see what the best reps in the company and in the industry are doing to be at that level, and you're not figuring out how you can do that too and copy it, then I would suggest that you're maybe not that serious about really winning. And there's an opportunity for you to level up. There's so many resources, and so we're going to do our very best to help you level up, but ultimately there's got to be some personal responsibility in like aggressively seeking out any and every opportunity that you can to get better and to improve your own sales skills. And I lead with that because this is our train the trainers. Because you are our trainers, it's pretty difficult for the rest of our company to rise above whatever level you each are at. And so there should be some dual motivation there. Like, hopefully you're motivated on your own to go, if you're going to go do something, right? Like if whatever you're going to do, like do it well, whatever you're going to be a good one. So if you're going to do this, then do it at the very best of your ability. And that means right now paying the price to really master the art of selling. And wherever, as good as you were last year, committing to get a little bit better next year. And then there's that extra layer of motivation and especially because if you're in this room, you have a responsibility to bring people with you. And they can only be as good as you are. Because you can't lift them up to a skill level better than yourself. Does that make sense? So hopefully there's some extra motivation to get to level yourself up from a training standpoint. I think last time we met, we did our Zoom training and we shared that idea of somebody's winning state today. And like right now is when summers are won. Right now is when your goal is hit for the summer. And so what you do with this time will pay massive dividends when it comes time to actually create accounts and help your team be successful. Any comments, questions on that? Okay, let's jump into it. We practice a 3-step learning model. So this is, and this isn't like exclusive to Point, right? Like I learned this model in the MTC where they taught us principles, they showed us what those principles look like, and then we practiced with our MTC instructor telling us like, you're doing it wrong, stop, try this again, ask this question, or like that's the model to learn, right? Like I didn't realize it, but I probably even learned it even earlier as like a student athlete when like our coach would teach a concept and then he'd show us what it looked like and then we would go practice it and then he would give us tweaks, right? So that we could actually do it the right way. So like that's how we as human beings learn how to do things. We learn it first conceptually, then we get to see what the concept looks like in application, and we have to go practice it to be able to master it. So that's the model that we follow, and today we want to teach you this model as it applies to selling pest control over the door. Good? Okay. So first principle is teaching principles. So as we teach the principles of selling, it's not enough as teachers just to show guys, hey, this is what you're supposed to do. It's really important that as we're teaching principle, that we're giving them the why. And I'm just going to ask those of you, we have a lot of veteran trainers, why is it important that reps get the why, not just the what or the how? Any thoughts on that? Think about in your own life, even broader than selling, like why is having like the purpose or the why behind what doing what we do, why does that matter? Is this Theo? Corey?
The why for me kind of keeps me going when I kind of get gassed. Keeps me disciplined when I kind of hit roadblocks. It's more, my why is more of like a long-term solution for me. Finish the story and to train and be honest.
Yeah, I love that. Specifically to, like, if we're talking about technique and like a training context, right? Like, if we're teaching metaverbal communication, like, we could just say, hey, it's important that you speak slowly and that you match people's volume and pitch, and or we can say, hey, this is important because it builds empathy, right? So there's like a layer above, like, this is the technique, this is why we do the technique. Why do we need to teach the why of that, Tanner?
Honestly, the more I've trained reps, like it's been pretty similar to like learning a language, like on my mission. Like I knew I was supposed to say this because grammatically that was correct, but I didn't understand why. And so as that's been taught to other people, that's slowly expanded my understanding. But the why is important because it helps you on a complex level see what I can do to improve and how I can say it and like how I can express it differently if I need to strategically like pivot on with the customer and be able to know all that. I'm able to pass it on to the rep that I'm in training so that they have a broader understanding of the sales cycle and whatnot.
Love that. Any other thoughts on this? Wise and powerful leader taught, teach correct principles, let them govern themselves. I think that's a great leadership philosophy. We don't teach like a memorized rote script when we sell. We teach situational selling. And if all I know is this is what I'm supposed to say, but I don't know why I'm saying it, then I can't adapt. I can't situational sell. I can't have like this is the purpose of what I'm actually trying to accomplish. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And in this situation, I'm going to be able to pivot and do this because that's more effective. So those whys become really, really important. So here's kind of like silos of principles that we teach when it comes to selling. So we've got our communication filters. This is where we talk about the nonverbal, the verbal, and the metaverbal. We're not going to teach on that. You all should know these principles. But what I want to hear from you is, why do we teach these and why are they important to selling? Why do communication filters matter? We got a rough crowd tonight. We need to like do some jumping jacks or
A lot of the sell isn't what you say, mainly it's like how your body language is and how you do so with confidence. How you present yourself.
yes. So there's a golden principle there. It's not just what we say, it's how we say it that conveys message, right? And so we want to make sure with the words are congruent with our tone, our body language. And let's go another well, here, go ahead and then I'll ask my next question.
Also, like, is our nonverbal communication, but also the customer's nonverbal communication?
Yes.
Just depending on how they're standing and how you're on the cross or not, that changes with how I will basically pitch them, and they'll be more friendly and more businessy.
Yes. So with those two concepts in mind, understanding that there's more than just words that influence people's buying, and that our ability to read other people's communication filters helps us pivot to know how we should attack that customer, right? Or doesn't sound right, but how we should approach that customer. Why is that important?
Communication helps us build relationships, different level of relationships, whether that's the transactional relationship or just maybe like a long-term relationship with the customer. These different filters allow us to take that communication in any situation and apply them all, whether it's nonverbal, metaverbal, or verbal. Yeah, they all just help us build relationships with people.
So another principle of selling is that people buy from people that they like and trust. So if we are really, really good with at controlling our messages and reading theirs, understanding those filters, we're able to create empathy more quickly, create that like and trust, and do business with a lot more people. Does that make sense? So that's why we teach. So it would be easy to just say this is what's most effective, right? But why is it more effective? Why is it important to actually take the time to master the art of communication, to learn these, and to get good at it? Because if you can learn this, then you'll be a more productive sales rep, right? That's okay. Let's talk about sales map. Tell me some of the whys of our, having a systematic step-by-step process. Tanner.
I was with Aiden actually at a recruiting meeting. He explained this really well. He said it's like playing chess. Like with chess, there's like lots of openers, and having a strategy, knowing what those openers are, like 5 steps ahead of the opponent, like what you're gonna do. And with this, like it allows our reps to get out there, and no matter what the customer says, they know exactly what they're gonna do for the next 5 steps. It's not stumbling, like making it up on the fly. And so again, it's gonna be helpful to help you sell them, and not to be helpful for sales rep.
I love that. So true. Any other thoughts on that? So my first summer, our sales pitch, we didn't have a sales map. And there was a lot of spraying and praying going on. Right? We were just saying whatever I knew about pest control, I was going to tell you, and I was praying that I said something that like piqued your interest, right? That's a less effective way to sell. So for our reps to understand that there's a step-by-step systematic process, that there's a path that's most productive that we can lead customers down to help them sell, that there's principles that having a good initial approach that engages them, that makes it conversational, like the power of asking good questions, the power of getting them involved with those questions, learning that like if you get combative when they give you an objection, like you're going to get the door shut, that a little bit of empathy goes a long way, because it does build that empathy, right? It builds that relationship where they're willing to do business with you. These are all principles that are tried and true and proven and really universal to selling. And with every single one of those principles, there's technique and power behind it that we should continually be improving on. That makes sense. And then again, not to beat a dead horse, and I think Tanner, you addressed this really well, but with the idea of having first downs, that we're not just like saying specific words and hoping that like they buy, that there's intent, that like my initial approach is meant to lead to a buying question that gets me into their backyard, which increases my ability to sell, which allows me to do an inspection, which helps me create need, value, and urgency, which then sets me up for the close. It's very intentional, right? This isn't like, I hope this works, or I'm just going to say whatever comes to mind. Having a very systematic set process like this creates predictable outcomes. So it allows our reps to have something that I can control, something that I can focus on, that I know that if I do it well, I'm going to get a predictable outcome, right? And the better I get at my inputs, the more consistent my outputs become. Now I've got a game that I can control, that I can win. Does that make sense? Are some of you that maybe are like new to leadership and new to selling, does that change a little bit how you think about how you were trained? Is that helpful? Or
Yeah, I think of it, the way I've always thought of the sales map is it's like the playbook to the results, and the first downs are the results. Like you're trying to create buying questions, you're trying to get inspections, you're trying to get to the rate card, you're trying to get the contract. And the sales map is just like, if I do a really good initial approach, if I do enough of them, then I'll create a certain amount of, of buying questions, and then you just kind of work your way through that. And so yeah, that's how I've always thought of it, is it's the playbook.
I love that.
And I love your idea of like predictability. Like the best reps, they don't just shoot from the hip. Like they have a process. And the other side of that coin is like, as leaders, and we're going to talk about this today, it helps you understand where they're getting held up. But if you don't know this process extremely well yourself, if there's not a level of competence there, then you'll have a really hard time knowing, like, where a rep is getting held up in their process.
100%. That's critical from a training standpoint, right? Is that if one of the advantages of having these first downs is that if a rep isn't getting these are very tangible, very real metrics to see like where are we at in our progression as a sales rep, which gives you a really good roadmap to know where they need to be focused on. So if I'm not getting buying questions, then I know that my initial approach didn't need to work, that it's not working right. So as a coach, that's where I'm going to focus my attention on. If they're doing tons of inspections, but you're not closing anything, then I need to focus on the present, like what's happening in that inspection to create need, value, and urgency so that it converts, right? So it lets you be very intentional about your training to give reps exactly what they need in order to get better. Comments or questions on that? Okay. I think that's everything I want to talk about with this slide. Any from our veteran guys? Okay. These are the principles, right? This is the framework. This is like the language that we use when we train. And it's powerful if you as the manager are speaking the same language as Parker, the regional, or anyone else that's coming in and training, or the training videos content that we create. If you're using a framework outside of this, then it's not as powerful. So one of the things that we're trying to accomplish is to get everybody on the same page with training content, that we're all speaking in the same process and teaching the same principles. Questions on that? Okay. I'm not gonna spend a ton of time on actual going through the principles. I think most of you should know them and should be familiar with them. So we've given you the framework. Want to make sure again that you're aware of the tools that are there. The training modules, like the slide decks for every preseason training that we're going to be doing, are all available to you to use as resources, so that when you're training, you're not trying to remember like, well, what did Parker say, or how did Cam teach that? It's like the slide deck, the template, the lesson plan, it's already built. All those resources are already there.
You guys know where those are at?
Is there anyone that doesn't know how to access slide decks or training videos?
Go into Slack, All Point Pros,
Parker
at
didn't
the very
believe you.
top. I know that there's some that don't. In Slack, All Point Pros, very top there's a link that says training resources or training manual or something. You hit that, and then in the YouTube channel, embedded in that at the very top is the slides. So you can, like, on the YouTube channel, you can watch the videos, or you can go into the actual training modules. So anyway, that'll be important for yourselves and for doing trainings with reps.
Awesome. Okay, so we've covered principles. That leads us into step 2, showing the way. So why is it important that we show?
Just to kind of show that it's possible, it can be done.
Yeah.
Seeing your veterans go out and sell 3, 4, 5 accounts a day, and you're like, oh wow, if they can do it, I can totally learn. I can be like Cameron Cheney one day. I can sell as much as Cameron one day. So you just gotta show that it's possible.
I love that. There's a lot of power in that principle of belief, right? Oh, this can be done. Any other thoughts? Anybody ever had to like assemble anything and got like the manual, and then you're like, this freaking sucks, I'm going to the YouTube channel? Right? Like, yeah, have you had that experience where you're like reading it, or like, and it's like, this doesn't make any sense, and I don't see, and then like you go watch it and you're like, oh, this makes perfect sense, I get it now. That's the power of showing the way. It's one thing for us to talk about those principles. It's important that we create that framework, right? But it doesn't become like real or applicable until we show it. So just some basic tips on when we do like role playing and examples. So first and foremost, you've got to be comfortable. So think about all the principles that we just talked about. You've got to be able to show reps exactly what you want them to do. Like, you become like the poster model for how reps are going to be doing things. That's a massive responsibility, right? And just maybe a caution with that. Sometimes there's a spectrum of personality that affects selling, right? And in the role of a trainer, how you sell personally on the doors needs to match your personality. How you train in the classroom needs to be very vanilla and neutral so that it's applicable to every rep's style and personality. Does that make, which is why we would say, we recognize that there's a little bit of a difference between maybe how we role play and then maybe how you're selling on the doors. It shouldn't, the principles should be exactly the same, but there might be a little bit of variance there. That variance is because in a training setting, it needs to be applicable to your whole team. And so we want to be really focused on training concepts that are universal. And you've got to be prepared to be able to show every sales concept that we would want to be teaching and be able to demonstrate it in a way that's good enough that you would be comfortable having your rep copy it and knowing that if they copied you, that they would be successful too. And again, if you're not at that level of like, I could get up and role play any one of those principles, then now is the time to start practicing so that you can get there. I think last training we talked a little bit about value gap. That's where the real value comes as a trainer, as a leader, as a manager, is that I can show you how to do this at a level that if you will copy it, you can be successful too.
And I think the reason why we want to teach vanilla is because people thrive in their own personalities once they understand I can sell like me, not like Parker. Parker taught me the way, but I don't want to be Parker when I'm selling. I want to be me, because then you're just all day pretending to be someone you're not. And confidence comes when you're with yourself. So that's my belief on the why.
I'll never forget, we had a rep that was came out with his brother-in-law. His brother-in-law was a college wrestler. He was very aggressive, very assertive, and had a very dry personality. Like one of the hardest working, just like grinding guys I'd ever worked with. But like from like if there's like a spectrum of like I'm a personality salesman or I'm like a professional, like down to business salesman, like he was like off the chart professional down to business, like we're just getting work done, right? And this brother-in-law was like, he was the manager and he was really, really talented. Brother-in-law was trying to sell like his brother-in-law. And his brother-in-law is like one of the most like outgoing, friendly, charismatic, and it was so far out of his personality. And it was like, hey, I want you to go shadow this guy today. And he came back and he was like, you mean I can smile? Like I can have a conversation with people? Like this is amazing. And it completely, like it just changed this whole summer, right? So we need to be aware of that like there is some, that the way that we do it that works for us, if it's a personality preference on that spectrum of, I'm a personable sales guy, I'm a professional sales guy, not all of our, like where are our reps on that spectrum and make sure we're teaching in a way where they can take the principle and apply it to their personality to find where they're most comfortable. Comments, questions on that? Does that make sense? Tanner?
Yeah, one of the biggest holdups I've seen with like rookies is exactly that. They see like a high performing rep in their office and they're like, okay, I'm gonna be exactly like Felix on the road.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, Felix is his own thing. Like you're not Felix. Like, you know? And so like just do your own thing, like stick to the principles and you'll sell. Like
yeah.
So 100%.
And some of that, I mean, again, I don't want to take too long here. I remember as a second year rep having a really high powered rep come into our office and we had a decent relationship and I was like, man, like, how are you doing what you're doing? Like, tell me. Like, and in my mind, I was like, what are you saying? And he told me the pitch and I was like, liar, man, I can't believe he held back on me. And I'm like, I'm saying the same thing he's saying, but I'm not selling the volume he's selling, right? And I was like, I really thought that he was like holding back like his like silver bullets, right? I didn't understand, you know, no one was teaching me that whole process, that there's communication filters and it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. But there was more to that sales game than just your pitch, right? So when guys have confidence in the process and in the principles that they're teaching, then they're free to be themselves and they don't have to go try to be like someone else. You don't have to like make wild adjustments to be a top rep. our top reps do the basic things that, you know, and follow all of these principles. If you watch the videos, it's like, oh wow, like that's exactly what we teach them, you know, in the role play. Like it really does work, right? If you are trying to level up, it's way less about what you're saying. It's about mastering all the other principles and techniques that we just listed. Does that make sense? Okay. So again, when we're setting up, like, okay, I just taught the principle, whether this is on the doors or whether in a classroom, I got to be prepared to show it and then set up the role play, right? Okay, we're just taught overcoming objections. Watch for how I respond to the initial objection and how I show empathy. Look at the empathy statement that I'm going to use. Watch how I transition into a tailored response. Maybe I'm asking some find out questions before I give that tailored response, and then look for the close. Okay, we've taught the model. Now watch for that, and then I'm going to go do that so that they can do it. And then again, stick to the point concepts, right? Please don't teach outside of, like, if you have like, oh, this is what I do, and it's completely different than like the framework that we're teaching, please keep that one to yourself. If it works for you and it's working, great, but we don't want to, oftentimes we'll find reps that because of personality, they can get away with certain things that don't scale. So that's an important piece of why we stick to that. The last thing on that, as far as teaching concepts that don't scale, I had one more thought that's on the edge of my mind. If it's important, it'll come back. Sucks getting old, guys. Okay, practice with support. The third piece in the puzzle, don't practice until you can get it right. Practice until you can't get it wrong. And I love this idea or this concept. I want you to think about how your first summer entered your first door. And were you at a place where, like, if a qualified buyer came your day one, like, you could close it, and you could close it with confidence? How much confidence did you have coming into your first summer? And I think about my first summer coming in, and like literally, like, my buddies were like, here's a copy of what a contract looks like. Here's a fake check that I wrote for you, like, so it looks like you have one. And here's your binder. And like I literally dropped my bags off at the apartment, and then I went out to my area. I had no idea what I was doing, right? Like, it was just like, figure it out, like, sink or swim, make this work. And there's such a better way, right? So having our reps to be trained up to a level where they can go out day one and not mess it up, to not have to, like, what do I say, or what do I do, or what do I, like, there's no reason for our reps not to be at that level where the what I'm saying is completely memorized. That when someone throws out our common objections, they're already, like, they've drilled it a million times, so that it's reflex, it's natural. That's the expectation that we want our salespeople to be at before the summer starts. And for those of you that have managed before, there's nothing worse than not having done preseason training with your people, thinking that, like, I'll wait till they get out there, that's when they really learn anyway. And then you show up day one and you've got 10 guys that all know nothing, and they're all, like, dependent on you to show them at the same time. It's a disaster. That's when you handing them a binder or whatever and saying, like, good luck, I'll get to you in 2 days when I can finally get to you. Just figure it out until then. That's a very less effective way to do that. That shouldn't be happening at all in any office in our company.
Last comment from me.
No, keep it coming.
So just this quote reminds me of Alex Blackard. He talked to me last year. He's like, Parker was giving a training in Rexburg, and we were like tag teaming it. And he came up to me. He's like, how will I know if I'm ready for the summer? Like, I practiced a ton. And I just told him, like, you will know if I can walk by you on a random day at a random time and just say, like, I'm not interested, and you can respond to me, like, immediately with the best response possible. So just not being able to be caught off guard any moment before the summer can help you, like, train for the right mindset during the summer.
Love that. That's beautiful. Any other thoughts on this? Okay, so I'm gonna just come back to this piece. We're actually pretty good at these first two, but honestly, I've been to a ton of correlations or we're teaching really sound principles and you're really good at doing a role play in front of your group. And then you're like, all right, guys, good correlation, like, let's go. And we skip the most important part of the learning model where they actually get to practice and we actually get to give them feedback. So if you don't remember anything else about this part, one of the things that I really hope we can level up as a company this year with our training is that we take the practice portion. And I know that our reps don't like getting up in front of groups, and I know that role playing with critique is uncomfortable. In fact, sorry to put you on the spot, but Park and I were just talking about something different, but he's like, I'm way more comfortable just going out and doing it on my own. Like, it makes me more nervous when Parker's with me.
I'm not going anywhere. He signs on.
So that feeling,
If I want to, I'm done. 2 for 2.
that feeling is super normal and super natural. But we've got to be willing to step outside our comfort zone anyway. That's where we grow, and that's how we help our reps grow. So we've got to be really committed to getting our reps in front of the group and letting them practice and giving them support. Because even if you are really efficient and you have done your job in the preseason, your reps are going to be picking up bad habits all along the way. And if the only time you're catching those habits is when you go knock with them, it's not efficient enough to be able to keep your team on track. And one of the easiest ways to keep them on track is when they get up, and because especially by summer, they will have seen it lots of times, and they'll probably be, like they can tell you what you want to hear, but you're not going to see what's actually happening until you get them actually selling, getting them in those role plays, giving them real role play scenarios that will expose their weaknesses so that we can help them get better. So please take the practice part of the learning model serious and push your guys. Create cultures where it's okay to fail in front of the group and it's a fun learning environment where everybody gets to learn and get better. So just a couple principles on this. Again, set expectations. It's important that you let them know that you'll be stopping them along the way. Like, that shouldn't be a surprise. Hey, we're going to practice this, and we're going to practice until you can get it like perfect. And that means that as we go, like, I'm going to be stopping you, we're going to be coaching and critiquing. Keep it simple. Sometimes with a brand new rep, it's like, I don't even know where to start. Like, the way you were standing, you were talking way too fast, like the words were all wrong, and you're like, I don't even know where to, like, pick one. And typically we start with the what you say, and then we go to the how you say it. So there's like little by little, one step at a time, we're going to give them, okay, now you're saying it perfectly. Now let's start focusing on how you say it. Let's work on your body language. But if you give them all of that at one time, they're not going to remember any of it because they're like trying to focus on 5 things at once. None of them are going to get better. So just pick one and then work on the next one and then the next one. So keep it simple, focus on one principle at a time, and then set your role plays up to actually, like, this is sometimes a little bit maddening too, where it's like, you'll see a spectrum of like, we're going to do a role play and our managers aren't taking control of the learning environment. And so like, all right, you be the customer, you be the rep. And then the customer's like, not interested. And they're just being a total a-hole to like the rep. And it's like, dude, like, we have enough of those in real life. We don't need no way to practice more no way customers that are impossible to sell. Like, we're actually trying to learn here. So as a manager, it's your job to control the learning environment and to set up the role play in a way that, like, this is what Gabe needs to work on. So this is the scenario. He has a service. He's open to change. You're going to have, like, these are the objections. Like, let's be a little bit more intentional about setting up the learning environment so that the rep can practice what they actually need to get better at. And then, again, just some things to consider: who you're teaching, and then where they're at in the learning process. So as you're setting up, again, the plea is being intentional. We're not just like going through. So hopefully today, I think this learning model isn't new, but I hope that what we've accomplished today is that you're learning the why we do what we do. So that we're not just doing role plays because that's what we're supposed to do, but that we're doing role plays because we want to teach our reps to learn, and the only way they can is if we coach.
What do you mean by who you're teaching?
So as far as like, am I working with, like I'm going to work with Gabe way different than I'm working with a first year rep that's never sold before. And the level of like a veteran training is going to be different than an intro training. Like, and candidly, well, I think that, so that's what I mean on that. There's just a couple of the principles that I don't have. Well, here we go. When you give feedback, we teach the Oreo cookie method. So that's something positive, something, and it's not necessarily negative, but a weakness or something that they need to work on, and then something positive. We're balancing improving technique with managing the mindset and attitude. So if we do this the wrong way, we can maybe give them some really accurate, good technical training, and in the process destroy their confidence and their mentality, and that will be even more damaging than the extra technique. So that Oreo cookie needs, that method helps us keep that balance of hey, that was really good, I like this, here's where we can improve, keep going, you've got this, you're doing great. Like there needs to be some positive, this is what we're gonna focus on, and then we're gonna end on a high note again.
I think that's so good, because like your number one role is to inspire belief in them that they can do this. And like you could be on paper, like you could give them like such good advice objectively on like something that they're not doing right. But if it's not delivered in the right way, then they could go away from it feeling less confident going onto the doors. Like, dude, I freaking suck. Like that was like, I obviously have this hole in my game and like I'm worried about it now. But if it's delivered in the right way, where you're like, you give them something they're doing really well, make them feel good about themselves, and then you hit them with the thing that they need to work on. I think the way you word that is spot on. Like you got to inspire belief. That's number one. And along the way, give them skill set tips that will help them level up their game.
So at the end of that Oreo cookie method, they should have a very clear objective of what they need to improve. Like if they're not sure what they're working on next, then we didn't give right feedback. So it needs to be very clear of, okay, this is what I want you to work on next, or this is the next piece that needs to improve. So that's important.
Something I've done after like each training session too is like I've given them like a progress report, like, hey, this is where we were like at the beginning of like this meeting, like this is where you're at now. Like, you're crushing it, and this is what we're gonna work on next time. So like homework assignment, focus on this so that next time we can like improve. That's
an amazing, when we talk about that, the last piece of the Oreo cookie where we're giving them some positive encouragement. Sometimes if, at the end of a difficult practice session, guys might come away feeling a little bit beat up, and it's important to help them recognize this is where we started and look at your progress, so that they know, like, that goes a long, long way in like, hey, I can get better, I can learn this, I can improve, and Point as an organization and my manager specifically can help me get better, and this process is working. So that's a really important, that's a great way to do that last piece of encouragement. Again, I maybe just ask the question, what's the difference between a coach and a cheerleader? It's December, it's football season. Guys are getting ready to go to bowl games. Got coaches and cheerleaders on the field. What's the difference?
Coach understands the sport. Cheerleader is just there to cheer them on.
Good. What else? That's perfect. What else? There's probably a few more differences.
Constructive criticism and feedback from the coach.
Yeah.
It's all good from the cheerleaders.
It's always good, right?
It's always good news.
Good job, Parker.
Hey, hey, you're doing good. Keep up the hard work, right? Keep chipping away. Good job. Who gets paid more? Well, a lot more, right? Like millions more. Maybe a cheerleader gets a scholarship and coaches make millions. Why is that?
There's value in having a good coach.
Yeah. Because money always follows value. And it's valuable to have someone that can help you get better. And so, yeah, Don.
I think one thing with the cheerleader coach thing too is there's a lot of cheerleaders, but there's one coach.
Yeah.
So with that, like the whole team can be saying good stuff. You can be like, oh, that was awesome. And a lot of the time in like meetings, you do that. Like, what did you see good? Just to kind of like amp up the rep.
but the coach is the one guy or the couple that are up there that are willing to give that feedback, so.
Yes, that's really valuable. Sometimes again, this is where we need strong leaders that aren't defaulting on their responsibility to train their teams. It's not a group session of like, hey, what can we improve? Because half the people in the room aren't selling as well as they need help, right? We don't want them giving advice. It needs to be the coach.
Just adding on to Donnie really quick, from the player's perspective, yeah, like your parents, the cheerleaders all telling you what you did good. From the player's perspective, the only person they want to talk to is the coach. Coach, what do I need you to work on? What needs to happen? Because the whole, the cheerleader saying, oh, you did this really well, you did that. I don't care what you think, you want to listen to the coach because he knows what he's talking about.
100%. We need really good player coaches. And I hope that you will take your responsibility. There's a place for encouragement, and coaches are good motivators too. Your job is not to be the cheerleader. If you have a responsibility to help your reps get better. And in order for that to happen, you have to be able to coach them. You've got to coach them up into better skill set. The last piece that I just want to add to that is we teach 3 keys, which we didn't talk about today, but the 3 keys of success, which are work ethic, skill set, and mindset. And as we talk about train the trainers, our primary focus has been on teaching skill set. But I just want to plant the seed that as a good coach, you need to be looking at holistically at all 3 of those. That oftentimes when a rep isn't reaching their full potential, it's not necessarily a technical issue. And that looking at the work ethic piece of it and looking at the mindset piece of it, and to be able to coach all aspects of that are really important in helping your team or your individual rep level up. So just like any other coach, right? If you have a really talented athlete that's not working hard, like coach is gonna be in his ear, right? Like he's gonna hear about it. If his attitude sucks, it's the coach's job to shift the mindset and to fix the attitude. So that becomes part of that responsibility as well. And the principles that we've talked about work in all of those areas. So even though we're technique focused today, I just want to make sure that you understand that there's a broader picture to your responsibility as a coach. Park.
I love that. I just have always put a lot of pressure on myself to in correlation meetings and in ET give really the right skill set advice. But as the longer I've done this, I've had conversations where it's you find out later that they were on the doors an hour or 2 late, and they're like, why am I not selling that 1 or 2 extra that I'm wanting? And it's just sometimes the answer is not always skill set. And a lot of times, just because we're having this conversation, we're talking about skill sets today, in summer, that might not always be the answer. And you have to drill down and diagnose, where is it, right? Because I don't know, sometimes I've just driven myself crazy where I'm I feel like they're doing so many things right with skill set, they should be selling more, but then there's other holes in their game with work ethic. They're not working the hours they should be working, or it's a confidence thing and they're just not on the doors. They look and sound one way in meeting, but on the doors, there's something that's going on in their mind where they lack confidence or whatever. So it's your job as a leader to drill down and figure out what that is. But I love the idea that it could be something else too.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if a head coach is getting beat and it's all right, how do we adjust, or what do we need to do to win or to be better? And the coach is I don't know, buddy, keep trying, work harder. That coach isn't gonna have his job for very long, right? Because his job is to help his people win. So if you find yourself in a situation where a rep isn't winning and you don't know why, it's your job to figure it out. And again, sometimes it is technique, but oftentimes it's a combination of work ethic, or even not because even that they're lazy or trying to get corners, but they're just maybe they've developed bad habits or they're not. I mean, gosh, first year reps come up with a lot of really inefficient ways to do this job, right? And if we don't teach them, they can waste a lot of time and energy and set themselves up for failure. And so those are the things that we need to be working towards. So that's the goal is that we be good coaches. Today, we want to practice what we preach. So we just covered teaching principles. Now Park is going to show what that looks like real time. We're going to use, we'll take a quick break, but I just want to set up what's going to happen for the rest of training. So Park's going to do a role play of how to coach. So we'll have a role play happening for selling. We're going to teach switchovers. We're going to have a rep come up and have someone be the customer. My fear in doing this is I don't want you to get so caught up in watching the role play and the switchover. That's not what you're supposed to be learning right now. What you are supposed to be learning is how to be good coaches, how to give good feedback, how to use that Oreo cookie method. So that's the piece that Park's going to role play, and then we're going to break out and we'll do practice with support where you're going to have an opportunity to practice coaching with feedback. So it's like Inception. It's like the dream within a dream. So that's the plan for the rest of the day. Is like our goal is at the end of this training that you feel way more comfortable giving feedback and being able to coach and teach and to help your reps level up technically. So let's take 5. 6 minutes. We'll meet back here at 10:10, and then we'll go from there. Thanks, guys. Woo.
No, it's right here. I did
Hey. No, I was actually thinking, wow, he did pretty good.
I'm just realizing how many issues I both were trying to figure out over the summer. It's like
something, dog. How are you, man?
Good, how are you?
Good. You done with finals yet?
I wish.
Really?
Is it this week? It's the 16th to the 21st.
Oh, I forgot to get you guys, late. These guys.
Dude, we have midterms like every week. So chill.
What did he say?
She's like,
Dude, we have midterms literally freaking every week.
like, oh, did some of your classes have like 5 tests or 6 tests in the semester? That's crazy. UVU is like 3. So my math lesson has 5. It's like 4 interns in that. But like, that's the most I've ever had. Like, Tyler,
Miss Idaho and some aspects like that.
It's probably what missed.
Yeah, on that
It's like being able to,
Oh, yeah.
like you're learning, but you just kind of float along at the same time. Don't be stressed.
I was like, did you get yourself a White Claw? What is that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, yeah. You gotta start going out for 14 days on the white wrong path, bro.
He's gonna marry at like
Positive. I like, how did your day go last time?
Yeah, I was like,
So, did it really? Was it because you got the kisses or because you get along? What did you do?
I like music
It was a good time.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
that was a guess.
Like I'm going through it. It's my last 3 hours.
I've been a girl on York not Colt's cousin though, yeah.
No,
You and I
felt
felt
her.
that.
You're like,
Yeah.
hasn't got out of one of Colt's cousins, bro.
I guess only you two have.
Have you?
I grew up with one of his cousins.
Oh, really?
Don't get too confused.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I got her for a kid, my Justin really got home and got her in like 3 months.
Oh my gosh. Was this like a huge thing?
It was last week.
But it was my second week.
Okay,
This week. And we have a third grade. Dang, moving fast. It went good. Where'd you guys go?
Actually,
You guys
After that,
like movie theater? No, it's like ones that I get.
she's friends with like, she's friends with like my sisters.
It went well.
That's the thing I'll say.
Yeah, I guess.
my gosh, it's going up, okay, I'm chasing.
I'm
only doing.
You're dating a girl?
Let's go! I know, I got to switch from the boys, but.
The boys were working out for you.
No, we all did, we all graduated.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's why I've been like.
I want to know if I graduated.
Big boy jobs, she's gonna be on salary.
Wait, so she's.
Her goal was to stay there. She's going into marketing.
Oh,
With an emphasis in sales.
This guy right here.
wow, she sounds perfect.
He's probably getting like 85, 90%.
Relax.
Yeah, and they're like,
So I said, how about you paintball that dude and all? After we sold the house.
Still waiting for the picture.
I don't know if you burned that.
she's cute. I would want like,
I have some She's no.
Is she actually Latino?
Nice.
but what helped you read because that's the thing I don't know at all.
He's probably the better one to ask for that.
Yeah, dude, I was
She was on the, he's the one that knows Counter-Strike,
It's really
drawing your mid.
And it looks really
He knows that stuff better than I do. So like, Robbie, I just studied it.
Yeah, just
I was saying nice to her.
I've been practicing.
For example, this last week.
Oh, really?
240 to 245. And you're gonna have to lead out your whole squad and Sean Valley here or Lucas Tanner.
Hey, your roommate Jacob is in my Spanish class.
He sells you were drawing those lines. That's exactly all of it.
He only did like one.
But it was like
That's cool though.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I find every time I see him this last week because it's like
No, I trust people.
but
But for like long term investing, I go with like Charles Schwab.
all right, I'm about to.
Was it like there are still fees on Schwab. On Schwab.
Alright, we're gonna start.
Charles Schwab. There is. With mutual funds, it's like a 6% 5 fee. So every time I buy, I'm paying like I do whenever you $25 to $75. Like that's my other option.
He's really good at analyzing. Watch videos and you can get different strategies. Get back into it. I stopped before the summer. Now I have so much
I love it.
Yeah.
Alright, let's do it. Okay, we're gonna start. So, I am basically going to, the rest of the time, I'm gonna teach a principle, I'm gonna show it, and then I'm gonna have someone else come up and be the rep, and then I'm gonna give them feedback. And then we're gonna do that pattern a couple times as a group before we break out, just so that we can get really comfortable with that rhythm and that pattern. And this is the best way to learn, right? Like I talked about earlier, YouTube videos and some of the supplementary stuff, it is awesome, it will move the needle, but the best way to learn anything
that requires a skill set is this, is, you know, someone being taught something, being shown it. A lot of us are very visual learners, so showing is super important. One thing that we really don't want to see this year when we come and visit teams is like the manager teaching something and then being like, cool, who wants to try it out, right? You should show it, or have one of your like key people that's really doing well, that you have confidence will apply what you're teaching at a really high level. It doesn't always have to be you, right? It could be someone that's just knows their stuff and you can use as the example, and then you ask, you know, the rookie or a rookie to come up and practice that thing with support, right? So that was one thing I wanted to highlight, is that the showing portion doesn't always have to be you, but I would definitely recommend that it's someone that you have confidence in that will show a good example. That's big. So
Can I add one more thing on that?
sure.
If you're like a second year rep and you don't feel like you're at that level yet, but you're trying to help your reps get better, that's why we have a training library. Guys like David, Dave, and Cam, like videos of lifestyle. So that's one reason why we have those resources. So the expectation is we want you to become a master, right? We want you to get to that level, but if you're not there yet, there's still tools to help you be able to follow this pattern effectively and still help your graduates.
Yeah, that'd be a great time to use it, like in person, walk through it with them and show them what's happening, and you can stop it along the way and teach them. You may not be like 100% proficient or where you want to be, but like I think everyone in this room understands the sales map at this point, right? Like you could watch David do a pitch and like be able to stop it and say, okay, that's what that was, and help your rookies recognize the steps. So, okay, so teaching a principle. Today I'm gonna teach switchovers. So I'm gonna teach it as if you don't know what they are, and we're gonna walk through it. I'm gonna show it, and then we're gonna have someone else come up and try it. So switchover, the one really important thing that I do always, again, is I teach the why, and I help get their belief level right on whatever I'm teaching. So with a switchover, the idea is that switchovers are easy. Like they can be easy, they are easy, they will be some of your easiest sales that you get in the summer. Why? Because they already have a service, they've already budgeted for it, and in pest control, there's no equipment or product, right? It's literally a human, like a different truck rolls up, and it's all they have to do is text or email or call their company and tell them I'm done. And as long as it's been 1 year, then they can very easily and seamlessly switch over, right? So switchovers are easy. We want them, we look for them, we love them. Like that's the first step, is getting your reps belief system right. So this is literally what I would be sharing to my reps in a correlation meeting. I'll be talking about the why. Then we're going to talk about the how, right? So first step is empathy. The why there is, if you don't lead with empathy, then someone's going to feel like you're like right out of the gates, you have your fists up and you're like trying to fight them on their decision, right? Step one is you actually don't want them to feel like you think they made a poor decision in getting a company. You want to compliment them on the fact that they made a decision to get pest control. I draw the line between someone choosing to get pest control and being in the industry and who they chose. So I don't think you should compliment someone on, oh, that's awesome, Aptiv's a great company, that was smart to choose them. I think a really strong statement of, that's awesome, it's smart to have someone, or like, you got to have someone out here, right? So that's my first move. Totally, that's great. Most people have someone out here that's totally smart. That's step number one. Step number two is qualify. Why is it important to qualify? So if you were one of my reps in correlation, I'm gonna ask that question, answer.
It might not be worth your time if they're not sellable.
100%. It's a 1-year contract. If they just started with them, you're likely wasting your time. So that's why I asked the question, how long have they been coming out? In order to, I guess the question I like before that is, who treats your home, right? A lot of this, it's impossible to do a tailored response without knowing who, right? It's really difficult. You're shooting from the hip if you don't know who it is that's servicing their home, because your tailored response is going to be tailored to
the company that they have, right? You might have something on them or something that you could share that might change their mind from being with that company. So I want to know who, I want to know how long, so to qualify and make sure I'm not wasting time. It's not worth it for me to just get an inspection and be in their yard for 20, 30 minutes and then find out they were in a contract. I would rather not do that inspection, right? I'd rather walk to the next door. And then the next step is a tailored response. So this is where you're gonna say, and I love this, basically this whole thing is basically what I'm gonna use most times. Just so you know, I've had a lot of people jumping on board with us because we're local and doing a lot more for a better value. So I just say a really strong statement that helps open their mind up to switching over to me, and I give them 1 or 2 strong reasons why I'm awesome, right? Why my service is, superior to theirs. And then I close. And I close is just a question, right? To put the ball back in their court. Oftentimes it's a question. In this case, we're using like a really strong statement that's just reminding the customer that my trucks are in the area. And if they want to give me a try while I'm out here, then I'd be willing to be competitive and do it for an awesome price. So I'm putting the ball back in their court. Any questions so far on this process? Okay, so if I go to a different slide, who can tell me the process real quick? I'll switch over. Steps. Empathy. Step 2, qualify. Step 3, the response. Step 4, close. Boom. Okay. Then the last thing you need to know about switchovers, today I'm briefly touching on this because you guys know this, but so if in a real setting, I'm gonna go a little bit deeper probably teaching this. Need, value, urgency, right? Just like any customer that doesn't have a service, you have to cover need, value, and urgency. In a switchover's case, this is gonna sound a little bit different, right? They're already sold on the fact that they need a service because they have bug problems. So you're gonna try to figure out why they called their company out and see if there's something that they're not doing, right? See if they have a need that's not being met by their current thing that they have. So I love asking the question, when you called them out or when you started with your company, what was it mainly that you were seeing at the time? Just to see if I can gather some info, right? Because when I get into the service, which is also like kind of synonymous with value, right? I'm gonna be like using some of that stuff that they maybe give me there. So love that question. Try to figure out if there's a need that's not being met. Sometimes here they'll just like say that they dislike the company and that their need is just straight up not being met. Like none of their needs are being met, right? And again, that's like, we love those. Those are easy switchovers. Sometimes you're adding to what a need that is being met. And so you're just trying to explore there. So asking some questions can be a really good idea. By the way, on a switchover, a lot of times this is happening on the porch. Sometimes they'll bite here and they'll give you a how much, and this will happen in the backyard. But oftentimes on a switchover, this is actually still happening on the porch. So that's a little bit of a difference between a switchover and a normal door. Then on the service, I'm going to talk about what we do, what they don't do, try to build some value there. And then I'm going to always bring it back to the close and the price to try to get an inspection or to try to get to rate card, right? I'm trying to get to like the deal and the price. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, so I'm going to show that because the goal today again is not to like get super deep into switchovers. I just wanted to show that. So, okay, so I've taught the principle. I teach it to my team. And then I'm going to have someone come up, be my customer. Who wants to be my customer? Okay, Tanner. Perfect. And then usually what I'll do here is I'll say, cool, we're doing a switchover. We're in, let's say we're in, this is Anchor. So I'm in New Hampshire. Fox is in New Hampshire. So you're a Fox customer. Okay, so most of the time I set the stage, right? Like Gabe was talking about, so that it's actually like relevant for the team. It's something that they want to see. So I'm in New Hampshire, Fox services in New Hampshire. Tanner's gonna be a Fox customer. And so I'm gonna do my pitch. We're gonna kind of know that going into it. You don't always have to have that, but sometimes that is helpful. What else would be helpful to set the stage? Anything else you guys can think of?
Price, like
have a base knowledge of Fox, what they do, their
Right.
price.
Which the team usually would if they're selling in that, in that
Yeah.
market. Garrett?
If the neighborhood, if Fox has been pretty common during the day, if a red precinct left for there. So.
Sure, if it's, yeah, so that might be a different like thing that we'll handle is like hot hood. In this case, it's not a like a hot door, it's just someone that has Fox. So, okay, let's do it.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. Hey, I'm just gonna be doing a bunch of work here on Provo Street. Has anyone been by to let you know what's going on?
Know what's going on?
Okay, so my trucks are gonna be here like all day today and tomorrow. I'm with Anchor Pest Control.
Okay,
We're
cool.
gonna be servicing a bunch of homes, like 20 in the neighborhood, and if I can fit your home in, I would do it for super cheap.
Yes, we already have Fox, so I think we're good.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. It's smart to have someone out here. Fox is doing it, you said?
Yeah, they've been doing it for a couple years now, so.
Okay, awesome. Well, just something to think about. Like I said, I'm with Anchor. I have had a couple people jump on board with us. One reason why is that we're local. Fox obviously is a nationwide, they have branches kind of throughout the whole country. A lot of our customers love that it's a super local and like tailored service to here. When you called them out, what was it mainly that you were seeing at the home, if you don't mind me asking?
Not too much. I mean, we had a spider every once in a while, so.
Okay, so just normal, kind of normal stuff. Okay, cool. Well, again, yeah, just a thought, but we do spiders and like all the general pest control stuff. We also do like fleas and ticks and some things out in the yard, which a lot of people really love, just again, because we're local to here, there's some additional services that we do. If you wanted to try something different while I'm out here, I would be willing to do it for super cheap.
Okay, I guess what would be your price stacked up to Fox?
Sure, yeah, that'd be something I'd be happy to kind of show you. I would just do a quick walk around with you and do a free inspection, and I can give you a number on that. Do you have a gate on either side of the home?
I love both sides.
Cool. If you want to meet me in the back, I'll show you kind of our deal and see if we can be competitive and figure something out. Cool. Great. So, I show it. In this case, I don't know, someone could coach me, I guess, but usually there's someone that's, well, I guess if I'm the manager, so I'm showing it, yeah, I'm showing it, and then now I'm gonna have someone else come up and say, okay, cool, now it's your turn, let's try it.
So
Go ahead.
there is enough, I mean, in this scenario, right, if you're doing the role play, that's the model that we want them to follow, we're not gonna critique it, but you can debrief it and say, hey, tell me what you saw, tell me what you learned. Like, let's have a conversation.
I like that, yeah.
So that it can still be like learning, right?
Yeah, it can be broken down.
Yes.
Good point. Yeah, and I'll do that a lot. If I show something, even if I'm the manager, I might say, cool, what did you learn? Like, what did you feel like I did right? Was there anything that you maybe would have done different? Like, just what were your thoughts on that? So let's do that real quick. Just things that stood out, maybe 3 things real quick, and then let's jump into someone else coming up.
Real recordings also help with this. Like, this is a recording I took on the doors yesterday. Let's break it down as a team.
Like it,
And then
yeah.
pause the recording, hear the customer. And back and forth.
Nice, I like it. That's great.
Sorry, no, that.
No, that's good. Yeah. A couple thoughts just on the role play.
So it's not on the role play, but this is a
That's
thought
fine.
that I have. I guess like we can, but
That's fine.
So a thought I had too is after you do it, I think sometimes because like you didn't follow what you taught like completely, and sometimes I feel like in your situation or like as manager, sometimes it helps to be like, okay, the reason why I actually didn't say this in this situation with your role play is because you had X response. So it led me down a different path than what it's kind of taught traditionally.
Yeah.
Because like I guess a little bit like feedback or what I noticed is it wasn't super important with Tanner in that second to qualify them because they were already willing to jump into like your cost, right? So sometimes it's better to, since you're already talking about price, to get them into the backyard.
Yeah.
And then just quickly qualify them while you're in the backyard. Right?
Yes, one good thing that I'll do sometimes is I'll kind of like replay it, right? Like I'll give them a replay. So like what happened in that role play is Tanner jumped out right away and told me he has Fox, right? So and sometimes rookies need to see, like they need to hear the replay of like why I did what I did. So I love that. That's a really good thought. So I guess let's do that. So Tanner comes out right away, says, I have Fox. Obviously I'm not gonna go, who treats your home? That'd be weird because he just told me, right? So this is real life. There's like, people don't just like, It's not like totally robotic, and sometimes things change and you have to adapt. So in real life, sometimes someone says, I have Fox, right? So now I no longer need to say who treats your home, because you already told me that. And he said, I think they've been doing it for a couple years now. So I didn't need to do that either. So he basically qualified himself. Then I jumped right into a tailored response because I was positioned to do that. So I gave him a good, strong tailored response. I think I actually, instead of like my trucks are here and doing this close, I jumped right into the need, which is appropriate. I think that's, if you're not gonna do this, I think that's the next move. You can do either or, honestly, and we teach that. You can either go right for the discount or my trucks are here, or you can just try to gather some more information. This is also a close, right? Like a close is just engaging the customer. So I closed into that. He gave me a little bit to work with. What did he give me to work with? So when I closed for the need, what did he give me to work with? Yeah. So he said they do spiders. It was just kind of like this is like they're doing one corner of the world. Like I not a ton. He wasn't like super stoked on what they were doing. He just said this is one thing they're doing. I took that and I took the approach of like building on that, and that was my value strategy, right? So built on what they were doing, and then at the end I looped back to, if you wanted to try us out, my trucks are here, and I went for price. He asked how much, and then I shot for the inspection. So that was like a recap of what happened. Any questions on that or thoughts on that? Yeah.
I also like how chill you were the whole time. It wasn't like you weren't about to fight them with.
Yeah.
When they talk about box, but it's like you're super chill, laid back.
Cool. Yeah, that's great. Thanks. So yeah, with so in a normal scenario, you're gonna do this, get some feedback, talk about it, replay it, what happened, why you did what you did, teach the why, and then boom, let's get someone up. So I think that's the next step. Sometimes I feel like we teach too long and we show too long, we talk too long as a group. I think this year I really want us to just get someone up. So, okay, who wants to come up and do this now? So now I'm the coach. I need a customer and a manager that's gonna show this.
I can be the
You're
customer.
brave. Let's do. Okay, let's. We need a customer. So Garrett's the customer. One rule filled. Good job, Garrett. Yeah, let's do it. Let's have you do it. Okay,
Hey,
so
I'm just gonna, Ken's perfect. I'm not saying that Ken shouldn't, but I also know that Ken's a very high level sales guy.
yeah,
That, Marty is really good at switchovers, and there might be some of you who could benefit from having,
I agree.
a really good coach give you some personal attention on your switchover game. And that would probably be more helpful for you and all, than it would be for Ken. And also maybe more helpful for the whole group to see what real coaching is like. So I would love to see someone that's like, who has enough, humility and confidence to be able to say, this is a place I need to get better, and I would love some feedback. I'd love to improve my switch over here.
Who's up? Who's in?
Yeah.
I do it.
Okay. A little rusty. You're good. Let's do it. Okay, so setting the stage. You guys both sold for frontline last year, so let's say we're in a frontline market. Active switch over. Let's do it. And you're in Delaware. You both sold in Delaware.
Nice.
Okay.
Hey, what's up? Hey, need some work with your guys' neighbor, Bob. Yeah, you know what's going on? No, what are you doing? Cool. My trucks are out. We're gonna be treating his place and about 25 others, and if I fit you in, we're doing it cheap. What are you guys doing?
We're treating most of the homes, just kind of doing a wall void reset.
Oh yeah, we've got Active coming out. We're all good, thanks though.
Right, yeah, it's definitely smart to have somebody coming out. Did you guys originally call him out for the ants, was it?
He just came by, just like you, door to door,
Okay.
yeah, and he was doing a discount too, so we just hopped on while the deal was good.
Cool. Definitely smart to be doing something. Has it been a couple of years for you, or is it a newer thing?
Yeah, that was a while ago, about 2 years ago.
Okay, cool. So what I also did for Bob is he did kind of have like a nationwide company as well. We just transitioned him over to a company that's a little bit more custom to the area.
I'm just gonna stop it so far. Yeah, honestly, really good so far. Really, really good. There's one thing I want to change the order on, and I think I waited maybe 5 seconds too long on this, but so let's rewind it and talk through how it's gone so far, right? Really good initial. I think the initial was pretty bulletproof and awesome. He gives you the switchover objection after asking a curiosity question. I think up till that point it was perfect. Empathy was really good. He said I have active. I thought that was fine. And then your first move, one of your first questions, which I think was out of order in my opinion, was what were they doing for you? Yeah, it was like something about the ants. Why'd you call them out, the ants? To me, your best move before that is normalizing a switchover and giving a tailored response. So like, what were they doing is not a qualifying question. That's like, now we're getting into the need. And I actually think if you ask that question too early, you're gonna validate and give them too much power as the customer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what I want you to do instead of that is I want you to strip that question, get into your tailored response earlier, and then engage them with, if you're gonna ask that question, then engage them with that question, because now they know who you are and why you're awesome. And I think your chances of getting shut down are much lower after sharing your piece first. Okay, so let's start from the top. Okay.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm good. What's up?
I'm doing work with Bob, Stacy, and Linda. Have anything let you know what's going on yet?
No, what's up?
Okay. My trucks are here. We're treating the homes, and while we're here, we're doing it for cheap.
What are you guys treating?
We're just doing most of the houses as a group. I'm sure somebody's come by and talked to you about it.
Oh, yeah, for the bugs, we've got active. They've already come out this year.
It's definitely smart to have somebody, and just so you do know, it was the same case with Linda as well. We just transitioned her over to a more local company that's a little bit more custom to the area.
Okay.
How long do you have them coming out for you?
We're just going on 2 years now.
2 years. Okay, cool. So what I did for Linda is I just do a quick little walk around, and then we kind of make sure.
Okay, that was better.
I made sure I hit that part, and then I was
that was good.
on that one
So
part.
the last thing I want you to do on this one is again circle to I want you to close with not offering an inspection, but seeing, because you're gonna actually, by closing, sometimes closing just helps you qualify, right? Like you see their seriousness. So by closing again for a how much, they're gonna tell you if they're even open-minded at all. No, you're fine, dude. I think that was really good. So you did that right. The order was better on that one. We got into your tailored response, which I actually loved. I thought it felt a lot better. Instead of having that tendency of just offering an inspection, I want you to do an actual close again. And then they'll tell you, they're gonna tell you right there with you closing if they're open-minded and if they're serious at all. So I think that's better, because again, if you just offer inspections, I just find that you'll waste a lot of time with unqualified people. So one more time, and I want to pick up with just I have active, and then I want you to empathize, tell them it's smart to have someone, get into your tailored response, close. Okay. So just start with the I have active.
I have active coming out.
Okay, cool. It's definitely smart to have somebody coming out. And just so you know, that was the same case with Linda and Bobby. We just switched them over because they like a company that's a little bit more local to the area, just because the products are a little bit more custom. And since the trucks are already in the area, we're doing like a huge group discount since it's like most of the neighborhood. So we can pay in for cheap.
Okay, yeah. Can you beat Aptive's prices? I mean, I know I hopped on a discount too. What do you guys usually run?
Yeah, so it just depends on the size of the home. You guys around the 2,000 square foot mark.
Just like Bob over there.
Just like Bob's, same model.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's good looking place. I just do a quick walk around, then give you a free blow on that.
Okay, awesome. Let's give him a hand. That was really good. No, dude, I'm grateful. There was something.
You just kind of like recall, like,
a
little rusty, jump from there, but.
So that was great, dude. That was a perfect example of like, I mean, oftentimes with veterans that like know their stuff, there's just like, in my opinion, sometimes like one or two little things that you have to know this at a high level in order to like, hey, dude, I would do this in this order instead of that. And that will help yield sales. Like I promise you it will. what's the why on that? Like, why am I asking, in this case, Tyson to get into the tailored response before asking like need questions to the customer? Like in your opinion, why is, just so, I want to make sure we all like agree with my feedback, if that makes sense. Tanner.
I mean, it gives the customer a reason to continue to listen, like if the customer's gonna answer your questions, they need to be feeling like they're involved in a conversation or have a reason to be involved.
Yeah.
So the tailored response gives them that reason.
Yeah, love it.
I mean, I feel like going along with that, there's just, if you're asking need-based questions before you kind of insert yourself into that, they're gonna associate those needs with the company that they already have, and it kind of like builds up, oh, I still need this company that I have.
Yeah.
Whereas if you give them a reason, like you insert yourself and then ask those need questions, it gives them a reason to switch up.
That's a great thought. Love that. Nice.
I kind of started to do that like at the very beginning of the summer when I couldn't really like remember the perfect like organization of it. But what I noticed when I shifted and then corrected that, I mean obviously up here,
It's been 6 months.
I've been a little bit nervous. All the nerves kind of come back and you kind of go back to not how it used to be. But what I noticed when I transitioned and actually switched that, because it's funny that you mentioned that, because I did that like 2 years ago and you said like the same thing, but it was it like shoots them down so much harder and it keeps that door open. I mean, it's just like if you get to like everyone's for like the yes train thing, but apart from that, just like a general conversation compared to like, okay, I'm going to try to sell you instead of the informational. So for me, at least, it feels a lot more informational. So it's like, hey, just heads up. All of these guys are already doing this anyway. And then at least what I've seen is it just helps open it up instead of like, oh crap, I'm getting nervous, I'm throwing everything at you. Because I don't know, at least I feel like that. And then I can kind of read that with them and then they're kind of like, okay, I'm kind of coming away from you instead of just keeping it super open.
For me, just one thought, and then I'll take a couple more thoughts, is like the tailored response freezes someone up and gives them a reason to continue to listen to you because there's logic there that supports it. Otherwise, like you're just a person that's at their door selling something that they already have. Like their need is already met in their eyes. So you have to empathize, but then you have to get right into your tailored response because if you don't, like again, in their mind, their needs are already met. Like they already have what they need. You're selling pest control, we got that, we're good. But the tailored response is like what changes their tune on that, right? So I think you got to get into it after qualifying.
This is super light, but I want to make sure that we're not getting lost in the dream.
Sure.
What I want you to be focused on now is what did you learn about coaching from how Parker coached this process?
Love that. Yeah, so let's get a couple thoughts on that.
So because Tyson did great, and I'm glad that even this process right now was good for you to see how Parker, how coaching is supposed to look, right? So you're learning from the learning, right? But what I want you to now see is switchovers are great and we want you to be good at it, but what we really want you to focus on today is coaching.
Yeah.
And that's what the real role play was Parker coaching Tyson. So tell me what you learned on that.
Cool. Let's do it. Yeah, let's do a couple thoughts on that part.
Yeah. Something I like that you did is well, you had already kind of set the expectation. I'm going to stop you if I notice something that I want to work on. You just were really quick to do that when you notice something. I think sometimes if you let them go through with it, one, it can build the bad habit of like the way that they just did it. But also it's easy, especially as like a manager when you're working with a bunch of people, it's easy to forget what they did wrong by the time the role play ends. And so sometimes it's the best way just to hurry and get it out and correct it so you don't forget it and you can just immediately show them. And
yeah, my tip would be write stuff down. Like a lot of times if I'm watching a role play, I have my notes out and I'm like, okay, this person's up in front of the group and I write it down. Like, so in that case, it would have been like, skip the tailored response. And I got to remember that because a lot of times you're right. Like if you let it go on 2-3 minutes pass by and you're like, crap, dude, I don't remember there was something, I can't remember what it was, you know?
The other piece on that is that if there's something that if you're taking a bunch of notes, now that's when we get build up on like, I got 10 things we need to work on.
Yeah.
It's more effective to stop them.
Yeah.
Like, okay, stop, that was good. This is the piece that I want us to focus on. Because you don't want them to practice bad habits. So if they're doing a bunch of things wrong, we're ingraining, and we don't stop it, then we're ingraining a bad habit. So stop it immediately. Let's work on that, and then work until it's good, and then we move on.
Yeah. Let's do two more. Tanner?
I mean, just like as a broad overview, like we've all sold before at least one summer, if not more, and we've all said this like 10,000 times, like over the summer. And like Tyson going up, like was an awesome example of like even people that have sold still need to go through this process with their senior leaders. Same thing, like if you're a senior leader, like you should be working with like your vets. You know, it's not, this isn't just for rookies. Like we all need to continue to practice this. And like I've done this 5 summers, and I still like meet up with a partner and say, okay, like let's like get this rust off, especially before we start training the reps that haven't done this before.
They're your level of if you're not competent to a certain level, like your reps won't be more competent than you are. So, Carter.
Yeah, I think my thought was, I guess there's a tendency when you're teaching these principles, if you correct them, to not have them redo it again and again until they get it right, so that they can't get it wrong.
Yeah.
A lot of times your reps are going to be like, cool, like you corrected me, so I'm going to sit down now, so you don't have to like be up there role playing anymore.
Yeah.
But I love that you were like we're going to do this until it's perfect, so that you can't get it wrong when you're on the doors.
Yeah, they need to hear themselves do it right. And sometimes if I go 2-3 rounds and they're still not getting it, I'll say, let's meet for 5-10 minutes after correlation. Let's get that right before you you bounce out. Because I don't want you heading to the doors feeling like, crap, dude, I don't even know, like, because it would be better for Tyson to just do the first thing. If it like with confidence than to do the second thing but be all in his head, right? So that's important as a leader to make sure you want to send people out to the doors with clarity on like what the heck just happened in that training. And so that's the best practice sometimes is like, I'll do 2 or 3 runs. If I can tell they're getting frazzled and they're getting red in the face and embarrassed, because like that'll happen. If you mess up 3 times in a row in front of a group, they're like, dude, I'm an idiot. I don't know anything. It's like, okay, let's just plug it, and after correlation, I'll get with you for a sec and let's get it right. And do the doors.
There's a balance there too, because sometimes, like, I mean, how many times in the doors, you're like, I freaking suck at this. And then like you have to keep battling until you get it right. And so that process can be really valuable in correlation. When you want to send a guy on a high note, watch him make progress in a role play in front of the group. Where he sucked and then he doesn't suck anymore. And now he's like, I can do this. And now that guy's he's motivated and confident and inspired. Like that's so much more effective than like, all right, good job. This is what I want you to work on next time. Like, see it, and then go sit down.
Right.
There's no real learning happening. There's no real growth there.
Right.
But I love part of it that you pointed that out. Like the other amazing thing that happens in that scenario is if you do 4 or 5 of those in a row, by the time you get to number 5, the whole team's way better because they've watched other guys struggle and they're learning from their learning. So by the time you get halfway through your team, everybody's got the concept and dialed in.
That's why I like personally this rhythm of teach it, show it, and then have someone come up in front of the team and give that and do this practice with support in front of the team, because the team can all learn together. Then the 4th step is break out. Like break out and everyone do it in groups, you know? That's why I like that. But
Parker, can we expand the model now? And I would like to see
that's what I was just gonna do.
So because this time you were still coaching.
Yeah, I want someone else to coach, and then we coach the. So we need 3 volunteers now. We need a customer, a manager, someone to give the feedback.
Who wants to coach? Who wants to practice coaching?
I don't know if I volunteer.
Tyson, you've already done it. Get someone else got to
just to practice the coaching part of it.
Come on.
Okay, so Parker's the coach.
Okay, who's the rep?
Adam's the rep.
Good job, Adam.
Emily's the manager. Let's do it.
No, Parker's the manager.
No, I thought you.
Emily's the customer.
Yes.
Who's the oh, I see.
I could be
so
the,
someone's sorry,
I could
someone's
be the
the
customer
rep.
if you want me to.
So someone's the rep. It's getting confusing. Who's who? You guys tell you.
I don't care.
You're the customer?
Yes.
Okay, you're the rep.
No.
But I'll be sure.
I'm the manager.
So we need a coach now.
Adam's
He's the coach.
I'm the coach. I'm the coach manager, right?
Adam's gonna sell.
You're my sales rep. We're
Okay, I'm
okay.
just-
Okay, yeah, that's where my head was.
Where did you guys sell last year?
You're in Maryland.
What was the leading
You're
competition?
coaching Parker.
Yeah, he's the coach. Yeah, that's where I was at. Good.
All right, are we good? Cool. Where do you want me to start? I already showed
We're
it
gonna
all.
switch over again.
Okay.
We're just gonna do the show, or we're just gonna do the
The role play part?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, Adam, right?
Mhm.
Sorry, bro. Cool, Adam. Yeah, let's keep practicing switchovers. Emily, just be an active customer, and then whatever you find to be like the normal price point, just be that customer that you see on average day. And then we'll start just, I might stop you halfway through, but just know it's out of love. So.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
Hello,
Hey, what's up? How's your day going?
fine.
Nice, right on. We're just doing a ton of work down the street. Is anybody stop by, let you know what's going on?
Internet?
Not exactly. We're just, we're doing we're just help. I'm super rusty.
No, you're all good. Take
All
your
right.
time. Just with that, just be confident. Just I think the best way to do that is just boldly say that you're doing pest control. Right. So
Yeah. All right, let's try this one more time.
just start from the top.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, going good. How about yourself?
Doing fine.
Nice, right on. We're just doing a ton of work down Edward Street. Is anybody stop by, let you know what's going on?
Are you doing the internet?
Not exactly. We're just helping a ton of your neighbors down the street. If we could fit you guys in, it'd be super cheap.
What are you guys
Can we
doing?
stop right there?
Yeah.
So her question right there, and you're doing good. Like your bilanguage is good. I love the head nods. I think all that like that bilanguage stuff is really awesome. When it comes down to like her question of like, are you guys the internet? Sometimes I find it's better to just be like, no, we're actually doing the pest control with like 20 of your neighbors. That way she feels like you heard her question or like her idea of like, what are you doing here? Rather than like just jumping into it. And the reason why is like when you just jump into like, yeah, we're actually just working with a ton of these guys. Have they told you what we're doing? And clearly she doesn't know what they haven't told her, right? Because she already kind of voiced that, right? So let's just start from the top and then just be like, yeah, we're doing the pest control with about 20 of these guys. Have they filled you in on that? And that way it's like, I heard your question, but like, have they told you details? Kind of an idea there. So,
Of course.
Take time out.
yes.
That was perfect. I just wanted to restate, if you gave him something to work on.
Yeah.
You gave me kind of an example, but I would have him before he tries to do it. So let's get it in the mind, and then he can do it in practice. So Adam, I want you to restate. What's Parker wanting you to do?
Okay.
What is it that you need to work on? What's the next adjustment for you?
Parker's just wanting me to work on saying that I'm doing pest control rather than just saying I'm working here.
Yes. So when she says internet, how are you going to respond?
I'm just gonna say not exactly. We're just we're doing the pest work around here. We could fit you guys in, it'd be super cheap.
Hey,
Hey, what's up? How you doing?
doing just fine.
Nice, awesome. We're just working with a ton of your neighbors down Edward Street. Does anybody stop by, let you know what's going on?
Are you the internet guy?
Not exactly. We're just doing a ton of pest control work around here. If we could fit you guys in, it'd
Oh,
be
okay.
super cheap.
Yeah, thanks for coming by. We actually have Active coming out, but really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. How long have you been with them for?
5 years.
Yeah, of course. And
Okay, time out. So Parker, because we're coaching right now.
Yes, that's it.
Is there something that, if you were doing a switchover, would you do something different?
I felt like that looked pretty fire, actually. I hope that you're not like change everything, but I thought that was really solid so far.
So it's good, as you look at the pattern that we're trying to teach, is there
yes.
steps that skip?
I missed it.
Which I think he said no worries.
Yes.
My thing with switchovers is there's gotta be
Sometimes
more
it's
than
gotta be a
that.
little stronger.
It's gotta be stronger empathy. Like, because no worries is not no worries might be like, okay, I'm submitting. No worries, like I'll just tell you something, I'm out. You know, but it's like, yeah, no worries, that's smart. Like a lot of people out here have someone. Let's keep talking though, because I'm gonna sell you.
So yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it looked really good to me. I would say then definitely make sure to have like that full empathy statement, just because it solidifies like the position just a little bit more. Not necessarily completely just agreeing that okay, cool, it's just a company, but it's also saying like, it's just smart to have somebody out. So it defers like what Parker was talking about earlier with agreeing that it's awesome to have an active, or just saying it's awesome to have pest control. It's obviously the latter that we want to portray, and I think that empathy statement gets that point across.
Yeah. So you're just telling, so you're just telling me that I need to say something else other than no worries, more something like, oh yeah, it's smart to have someone coming out, right?
No worries is the first part, and then
smart to have someone coming in.
Exactly.
And then I would also add, you know, to be careful with, as part of that, the process that we're teaching, if you're just like, hey, no worries, you know, it's good that you have a service, you need to give them a reason to keep listening. It's the same idea that if you're just like, yeah, that's great that you have a service, she's like, yeah, it is good. So we don't really talk anymore. So there needs to be that next piece of like qualifying, even if it's like we just had part of technology that we're upgrading, like we do a little different, or whatever that transitional line is, it gives them a reason to like continue. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. So yeah, in this situation, it's depending on where you're at, I guess I can't remember exactly where we stopped, but in this situation, when you're giving this empathy statement of like, totally, it's great, it's a great idea to have somebody come out, definitely follow it up. If she's already said active, right, then you just need to follow it up with how long have you had them? And I know at one point she said 5 years, I can't remember exactly where that was at, but if at some point you're still saying an empathy statement, you can always roll it into the tailored response, and that can be that kind of I don't know what to call it, like a thought-provoking sentence, or almost like a close to keep them intrigued in the conversation. So do you want us to keep going?
Yeah, so as a coach, the point is that sometimes if you're breaking it in the middle and you're saying this is what you need to work on, sometimes we need to cue them up on, and this is where you're going. So that when they practice it the next time, they don't get that line, and then they're like, you're in the head, that's what you now.
Okay.
So that's the whole point of we don't set them up to be able to like, hey, everything up until this point was awesome. Great, you know, great use of empathy. Let's expand that empathy statement out, and then here's where you're going to next. Now let's try it again. I would, yeah, let's do it again.
Okay. Yeah, let's
you're
just
doing great, and you're doing great.
Yes.
Yeah, way good.
And I think we're all learning.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay, yeah, let's just jump back into it. Emily, just be that same customer form again, and we'll roll through. So.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, good morning. We're just doing a ton of work down Edward Street. Has anybody stopped by to let you know what's going on?
Are you the internet guy?
Not exactly. We're just treating a ton of homes down the road for just some of the general pests in the area. If we could fit you guys in, it'd be super cheap.
Yeah, we actually already have active coming out, but appreciate ya.
No worries. How long have you, no worries. It's super smart to have someone coming out. How long have you been with them for?
It's been a while, like 5 years.
Yeah, of course. And just so you know, like a ton of people are jumping on with us just because we're local. We're doing a lot more for a lot better value. So if we could fit you guys in with the rest of your neighbors, it would be super cheap.
I don't know, I got a pretty good deal with active. What do you guys, like, what do you do at hard
keep going with that thought. Switch to the next slide. Yeah, no, that's great. Keep going with that thought.
I'm gonna stop it really quick. Just pause really quick. What did you guys, this was amazing, right? And this is what I was, like, when we planned this, we were like praying that this is what you would see. Because when Adam started, it's been 4 months since this guy's even thought about selling pest control. Like he was like way out of like his groove, right? And can you see, could you feel the difference from his first attempt to where what he just did right now? Can you could like literally physically see like this change in his skill set and in his ability and then
Like the mental path is being formed. He knows where he's supposed to be going. He's getting the verbiage right. His metaverbals are settling down. He's getting more confident. And that's the power of being willing to, because was this a little uncomfortable for you?
Definitely. Yeah.
Was this way uncomfortable for
yes,
you?
way comfortable for me.
Can you see what happens when we are willing as leaders to get a little outside of our comfort zone and when we're willing to push our people into their growth zone? Did you see that? That's what we wanted you to experience today. That like when we're willing to get a little outside of our comfort zone, it's awkward to be up here and stopping someone in the middle of a role play and to try to keep them on track and to teach it and to do it again. And it's way awkward to be like, this isn't going like I was hoping, and like and he keeps interrupting me, and now I'm trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do, and I'm doing it in front of a crowd. That's challenging for a rep. But if you can do it here, you're gonna be so much better. It is easier without an audience. So if you can figure it out here in this uncomfortable place, when you get out on the doors when it matters, you're gonna be killing it. And that's what we need our reps to be experiencing. Like this growth needs to be happening for every single one of our reps. And for it to happen, we've got to get better at being able to coach guys through that process. It's not enough to just do a role play, give a little bit of feedback, give them a high five and let them go sit back down. This is what learning really looks like as far as training reps how to get good on the doors. Does that resonate?
I think if there's one takeaway I have, I don't see enough of us stopping people in role plays in summers, like right there, stop it. Let's talk about, the correction, let's make the correction, and then let's keep moving. So I think that's a huge change that we can make this year that I think will move the needle and help us it'll help our skill set a lot.
The change that we just saw in Adam from his first role play to that last one where he successfully navigated all the way to the point where she's like, what do I do now? That was awesome because he navigated the pathway perfectly. And it was like ready to move into the next step. Like that growth wouldn't have happened with one role play and then sitting down with some feedback. It couldn't. So we've got to be willing to actually coach guys into a new level of competency. Tyson.
So I remember last year we were maybe we're getting to this, but when we give feedback and we give the correction, do you guys still want us to do kind of like the, I guess, confidence builder where you say like, that you did this well, like kind of Parker started with, your head nodding was great, then you went into it. Do you still want us to finish with another like thing, or do you want us to just kind of get straight into it?
So in this scenario, right, it's like, okay, that was, yeah, of course, like every time, right? Like, hey, the metaverbals are on point. Love the nodding. Here's where I want you to work on. This is the right verbiage that we need to say. We need to show more empathy. You're doing awesome. Try it again. Because they're gonna need encouragements to be willing to stay up in front of the crowd and keep like this isn't easy. It's not easy for our reps to put themselves in front of everyone. So they need that encouragement. Man, you're doing awesome. You're making progress. Keep going. We can get farther. Let's keep going. That's important.
It's kind of human, dude. I've noticed that that's like usually a natural thing. It's like, you give them a thing or two they're doing well. The second compliment though usually is like you got this, like I believe in you. It's like a nudge, an encouragement, and then let's run it, let's do it,
And then the big piece is like, okay, we finished the role play and we're gonna let Adam sit back down in a second, and it's like, dude, can you see your progress? Yeah. That was freaking awesome. Like you took a risk, you came up and put you were vulnerable, right? And because of that, you just got way better, and now you're better equipped to go be better. And that's the end of the Oreo cookie, right? That's the real piece that we're looking for is you just grew. Your skill set just improved. Good job. Now you're ready to go win today. You're going to be better equipped for the next switchover. And now he's actually leaving correlation, inspired, confident, motivated, and technically ready to go win, which is exactly why we do correlation. That's what we're looking for. What time is it?
It's 11. So it's
okay.
I think just some takeaways.
Yeah,
I just have
you guys can sit down. Thank you so much. Yes. So good to you. So really quick before, what did you learn as a coach just now? Yeah, let's talk. So we talked about the sales rep perspective, which is that's the outcome we're looking for. But what did we learn about good coaching from Parker's role play?
So just one thing that I noticed, and it's actually something that you brought up, Gabe, was I think sometimes like I'm really just quick to be like, okay, cool, you're getting these things good. This is what I want you to change. Good luck, and just throw them right back in. And some of that's pretty fast paced, and like it's like almost like when you're in a sale and you're selling somebody, it seems slow to you, but it's fast to the customer. It's the same thing for like rookies. It's extremely fast paced, and so sometimes I probably should take a step back and say, okay, what do you think I want you to say here? Or like, I guess not necessarily say it that way, but like, okay, what are you gonna say next time? Let them verbalize that. Give them a second, and then jump back into the role play. Good luck.
Yeah.
Got this.
Because the truth is that you're processing really fast to be able to give them feedback.
I do this in my sleep, kind of a thing.
Yes. Well, and again, like as a coach, like you watch a role play and you're having to like process what they just did and then what they need to do better in like real time.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes you're like, I'm making up. Like I haven't thought about this. Like I'm giving you real time feedback on what needs to be better. And so you're like, it's not always really concise, perfect statement of like, here's what needs to do, what you need to work on. So giving him a chance to like reformulate, or giving you a chance to say, okay, I just gave you a whole bunch of feedback. Let's boil that down into this is the one thing. So that's
I like that a lot. So.
What else? What did you learn about coaching just now?
I think it's important to be pretty patient with the rep, just because you can kind of fire hose a rep with like a lot of different things that they need to improve on. And I remember like my first year getting fire hose, like had one training, going home, like feeling depressed, like, is this the right thing for me?
Right.
And luckily my manager called and like built me up a little bit. But it's so important to just like give one really key thing if you pause it or at the end of the role play, instead of just like this, and this, because it's gonna destroy their confidence.
Yeah, I'm 100%. You got to give him that. Keep it simple. Don't fire hose them. And again, like the ask is, please don't let someone go through a whole role play with like 15 mistakes, and then give him one to work on, and then like stop it. The very first time that in the very first part of their role play, if there's something that needs to be worked on, that's when we stop the role play and we give them the feedback so that they can get better. And then they get the reps in until they can do it right. And then, again, like we don't want to like take them through the very first thing to the end of a cell, maybe in the first, like in one setting, but like get them through like the initial. All right, now you have a good legit initial that you can go take out into the doors, and it's effective and that works. So I love that. What else? What else did you learn about coaching?
I think one thing I really agree with Tanner on is that there is no way that these reps can surpass us if we're not like confident and capable going into these trainings. And so if everyone in this room is not on the same page as far as like, I know a switchover, so now I can go teach it in literally a month from now, or maybe a couple weeks, then I don't think we're at the right level where we need to be. So practicing on our own right now is crucial to our leadership and to our reps' future success in April and May.
100%.
That's my thought on it.
Yeah, so, and not to, again, Parker, normally when we're getting ready to train, right, like you should come prepared to train on the topic that you're training on. Parker didn't get that opportunity. He just like,
oh yeah, no.
He was like, what am I doing, right?
Nothing against Parker.
But that's a great example where we were like, hey, like, what did you see? And you're like, I thought it looked awesome. And it was like, you skipped a couple important steps, and you're like, okay, like.
Which
like,
to be, and also like, sorry to cut you off, but like, there's levels of like, we all need to level up and dissect and understand the pitch, because he said no worries, and to a lot of people that's an empathy statement, right? But like elite reps that freaking crush understand that on switchovers that's not a big enough empathy statement, and like we just like there sometimes. The beauty of this whole thing is that like as you're teaching, you're learning. Like they all feed each other. And if you want to be a crazy high level rep, like if you'll just take teaching seriously enough, then that'll just like take care of itself. It's crazy how that happens, but I've just seen reps over the years, like the ones that level up and get better. Like Cam, like dude, it's because he has to freaking teach a ton of people. Like, and he's all of a sudden skill set wise, like he's
leveling up
really good.
And there's a powerful lesson there, right? Because there was an empathy statement there, but it's not the most effective one, right? And if you're like, hey, good job, that like fire, and then he goes out and switchovers aren't working, like, that's really frustrating, because like my coach told me my role play was awesome, and I'm not getting results, like I don't, now all of a sudden he starts doubting himself, he starts doubting the system. So, and again, I'm not putting you like on the spot at all. That, I think that highlights how important it is that we level up, that we know the steps and that we do them well, that we know them well enough that we not only can that we can do it, but then we can teach it and help other people get better too. So yes, 10.
And that takes a level of humility too from like both of them, but also like Parker, like to be like told, hey, there's a better way to do this, you know?
Yeah.
And like each one of us, like we have to be humble, like along this process, and like coming to these meetings is how we're going to level up ourselves as well as our networks.
Yeah.
Unless like you just don't care to do that and don't want to take it.
100%
poor and dumb.
Poor, dumb, and ignorant, living in a van down by the river.
I think one thing too, when we're out in our offices, like we have a management team too. So one thing, like one manager may not notice it, but we have several others that are going to be there watching that can help out. And one person will be the main one that's critiquing and helping and trying to push. But if another manager sitting on the sideline needs to help out a little bit,
Yeah, and again, like if one of us, it's a team effort, right? So if one of us misses something, it's like, hey, let's time out real quick, what do you think about this? And like we can help coach it, our reps up. Having different personalities in leadership also helps to be able to relate with different styles, so that's valuable too. I hope that you feel a little bit stressed out about this responsibility to be that good that you can coach, that you feel a responsibility to level your game up so that you can then help your people level up too. This should change the way that you go about coming to preseason training. It would be really easy as a veteran guy that's been here a bunch to be like, oh, I've heard it a million times, I've done it, I don't really need this. And so now when you come to training, it's not just about you bringing your reps so that they can learn. You should be learning from the guys that are doing training on how they teach and how they coach. And every time you come to preseason training, it's an opportunity for you to practice your skill set as a coach, and that you're coming to improve your ability. So I'm learning these principles, and I've got to learn them better so that I can then turn around and teach them better, so that I can catch those things and that I can be able to really help our guys learn the principles and apply them. So that's your homework is. So preseason training for our new reps is for them to just get that baseline principle and let's start to memorize some. But for you, there's a new layer of competency that you should be seeking as you come to training as we start preseason training in January. I hope that you're committed and that you will take this seriously. Like this is a valuable skill set that if you're out recruiting and building teams, like, you have to be able to do this in order to deliver for them to be able to be successful. So with that, thanks for your time today. We appreciate you being here. Today, you get the last word today?
Next time we'll see everyone is January 4th, which is our first sales training. So
come ready
let's
to
keep.
teach
So we're at
and learn.
90 reps hired. Let's try to get to 100 by December 31st.
Now you notice that we like barely talked about recruiting, and it's like you guys are doing it, and that part's working really well, and we're grateful that rather than coming and talking about how to like set appointments, that we could get into more meaty things like how we help our teams win. So thank you for winning on the recruiting front so that we can start leveling up in other parts of our game. Thanks for being here today. I appreciate you guys.
That's what I thought. Because some of them.
Here we go.